Hey, Jordan Belfort here, the Wolf of Wall Street. Welcome to Sales School. Hey, JB here, the Wolf of Wall Street. Time for a Sales School. I got a very simple topic today, but very important. We're going back to basics here. I want to get down to the very basis of what the straight line system is all about. And that is the transference of emotion. And the primary emotion you're transferring when you sell is the emotion of certainty. In other words, when you are in a situation of influence, what happens is a prospect will show up to the encounter, not as certain as you are that your product, let's just stick to product right now, that your product is the best fit for them, that it has the best cost-benefit ratio, best value proposition. It's going to meet all their needs, resolve their pain. They're not as certain as you are that your product is the one they should buy. Why? Because they don't know all the things that you know about your product. They don't know all the features and benefits. They don't know how great it works. They don't have testimonials in hand like you know, because you've been the guy that actually sold to people that got the benefit. They wrote you back and said, oh my God, you changed my life. They don't have that. So what you do when you persuade, when you influence, when you sell, when you close, is you say things, you explain things to them they don't know yet, and by explaining how awesome your product is, how amazing that cost-benefit ratio is, how it's going to resolve their needs, it's going to eliminate their pain, you say things to them which raises up their level of certainty. And if they get certain enough, then they buy. So essentially, again, just to see what happens here, is that a prospect shows up at a relatively low level of certainty. They don't know everything about your product. Now, if you have a very well-known product, like you're selling iPhones, well, chances are people will tend to show up higher along that continuum of certainty. They'll be pretty certain. They don't know everything. They need to know a few things more, but they're relatively certain. If you're selling something that, let's say, is not typically known to have great value all the time. I don't want to say what industry. There are certain industries out there where, let's just say, the reputation of the industry as a whole is somewhat suspect. So let's say you're selling, I hate to say it, let's say it's vacation rentals, guys, all right? There's some great companies out there, but in the public mind, they hear vacation rentals and they're like, oh, I don't know about that. You know, they're like, get nervous. They start to clam up. They enter that encounter at a lower level of certainty. So no matter what you're selling, whether you're selling a product that people will tend to think is great when they first enter the encounter, or a product where they're kind of be suspect, your job is still the same. Because you entered the encounter at this ultra high level of certainty. So watch. If this is a 1 and this is a 10, and a 1 means they're totally uncertain, and a 10 means the prospect's absolutely certain, they love the product, they might enter at a 5 or a 6 or a 4, whatever it might be, right? But where are you? You're at an absolute 10. Because you know everything great about your product. You know all the amazing features. You know the benefits. You know how it helps people. So what you do then is you say things, you explain things to the prospect. It transfers the certainty from you to the prospect, and you essentially raise them up on the certainty scale so they buy. That's what happens when you sell. You're transferring the certainty that's inside of you to the prospect so they become more certain, and eventually if they get certain enough, they're like, you know what? Yeah, it makes sense to buy. And they will buy from you. That's what's happening when you sell. Now just remember that the key here is that you must enter the encounter, the sales encounter, in a state of absolute certainty. Why? Because the straight line system doesn't actually create certainty. It transfers certainty. The certainty has to come from you. In other words, the straight line system is the transfer mechanism. The same way you could have in a home, you have a boiler in the basement that creates heat, right? And then you want to heat the rooms in the house. So you have all this ductwork, the HVAC system, that transfers the heat from the boiler to the various rooms. So you could have the best ductwork in the world, but if the boiler ain't working, there's no heat to transfer. The room stays cold. So in that metaphor, the straight line system is the ductwork. It allows you to transfer certainty from one place to another. You are the boiler, and your prospect are the rooms in the house, basically. So what happens is you show up in this state of absolute certainty. You then use the straight line system to transfer that certainty to the prospect. So you must show up in a state of certainty. That's another topic altogether. We'll get to that in another lesson in sales school.